So we're reading from a day 5 of A Course of Love, Access to Unity. Who would be the first one on your screen, Kevin?
Chantal, you first.
Access to unity. A point of access will no longer be needed once full entry is attained. Just as a key is no longer needed once a door has been unlocked and passed through. Even though it will not be permanently needed, however, this point of access will remain crucial as long as you maintain rather than sustain the state of unity. This point of access will thus now be discussed both as an initial entry point and as a continued entry point so that it is available to you until it is no longer needed. For each of you, this access point will in truth be the same, but perhaps quite different in the action which you use in order to enter it. For those of you who have felt the point of entry to be the mind in experiences already registered, there's no need to combat this feeling. For those of you who have felt the state of unity through experiences of the heart, there's again no need to struggle against this. Let me elaborate.
Ooh. My goodness.
For many of you, thoughts you did not think are among your first experiences of unity. Thus, just as when you might look up when trying to remember something, or tap a finger at your temple, that is, in a certain sense, a place to which you turn for these experiences. This does not mean that these experiences come from your mind or from a place just beyond your physical concept of the mind. But since you are not your body, the idea of what originates within, coming from a point beyond the body, is not now too unbelievable to contemplate.
Ian, we're up to day 5 and we're up to 5.4. As we said yesterday, our form of meditation, a meditation that is not a tool but a function of your natural self, is a focus on access. Thus we begin with what feels natural to you. We give access a focal point in the realm of form. This focal point must be of your own choosing. Your point of access may be your head or a place just above or to the right or left of your head. I'll read that again. Your point of access may be your head or a place just above or to the right or left of your head. It may be your heart or some midpoint just beyond the body. It may, for some, feel like a connection that arises from the earth as if it is just below the form of the physical body. Some could feel it in their hands, and others as it comes directly from their mouths, as speech is enabled that bypasses the realm of thought completely.
Wow.
Do not fight any of these feelings or others that I have not named. Just consider them givens and choose what feels most natural to you as a focal point for your focus on access.
Wow.
I'll hand it over to Mark because my throat's a bit congested. Mark?
What we have focused on for some time now is love. Love never changes. It thus is the same for each of us. Yet not one of us expresses love in exactly the same way as another. This is important to remember now as you begin to work with your access to unity. Unity and love. As we have within this work shown them to be, are the same. Unity and love are the same. Thus, access to is the same. It exists. It is there for you. It is given. It cannot be denied unless you deny it. It is only because you have not known this that we speak of it in this way here. Just as it is helpful in some instances to associate love with your heart, even though we have identified heart as the center of the self, rather than the pump that functions as part of your body, it will be helpful to have identified this chosen access point for unity, even while remembering it is not of the body alone. While the purpose of this work was to have you identify love and thus yourself correctly, there is still fine-tuning to your understanding to be done. And this will be done as you come to know what unity is, and so more fully come to know yourself and love. There would seem to be one major difference between unity and love, and that difference would seem to be love's ability to be given away. Thank you.
Yes. The true love gives of itself. You don't even have to give it. It's inherent. It just comes out of you and you can't even control it. You can deny it, but it's so good. Beautiful.
Just let Sam and Leanne know we're up to day 5.12. And Alison T, you're next.
Okay. Access to unity will seem, at first, a quite individual accomplishment. Something one may have and another may not. While this remains the case, you may desire to give others what you have and feel unable to do so. Yet, like love, unity is known through its effects. All the benefits of union can be given away to any willing to receive. While you do not consider yourself as having or needing an access point to love, and while you may treat love still as an individual attribute intimately associated with the self you are, you know love is not an attribute and that all love comes from the same source. You know you have been able to give love only when you have felt you have love to give. You thus have long known the truth of giving and receiving as one within your own heart. You might think of access in the same way, as enabling you to realize that you have the benefits of union to give. Like love, unity has one source and many expressions. It will be in your unique expression of union that yourself will come to wholeness, and you will be fully who you are and able to express love fully. It will be in your unique expression of union that yourself will come to wholeness, and you will be fully who you are and able to express love fully. Thanks.
Paul, you're next.
Right. Realize here that although you are now a part of community seeking same goal, the realization of making real
Or the realization,
yes, of your accomplishment and its expression will not look the same way twice. That's true. What you each desire from union most will be what finds the greatest expressions through you. A healer, for instance, might thus feel her access point of being the hands and express what is gained through unity by laying on a of hands. Similarly, you might say healing is one of the ways the healer expresses love. In truth, healing and love are the same. Who you are now, what your desires are, and where your talents have been recognized are as given as the goal you now desire to realize. Again, I remind you that the sameness of union is not about becoming clones or one specific type of idealized holy person. Union is being fully who you are and expressing fully who you are. This is the miracle, the goal, the accomplishment that is achieved through the reign of love, the maintenance, and finally, sustainability of union. Amen.
Kim, you're next.
Oh, I won't read. I'm all stuffed up. Sorry.
Samuel, are you reading today?
Yeah, I can read. I realize here that while you want to know the specifics of how this thing called access to unity will work, you are also impatient with specifics. You want immediate results, not more practice. You want relief and an end to effort, not another lesson to learn that you will be told is not a lesson. Not another cause for seeming effort in order to arrive at the effortless. But realize also that this effort that you rail against is still of your own choosing. The realization of a way to make things as they are is never effortful in and of itself. As you may seem to pause here in your movement in order to understand the way in which that movement is achieved, you will almost surely once again have doubts. Doubts are never more pronounced than when specifics are being dealt with. Yet, you continue to desire specifics. This is because you are still entrenched in the pattern of learning as your earnest effort to leave effort behind implies. Remember that union cannot be learned. For if it could be, the time of learning would be perpetuated rather than ended. Remember that you are tired of learning. You are tired here after you climbed. You simply want to rest and have whatever transformation is to come to you, to come. If you could indeed give in to this desire fully, it would speed the transformation along quite nicely. So please listen to your weariness and to your heart's desire to rest. Listen to the call to peace and let yourself recline in the embrace of love, feeling the warm earth beneath you and the heat of the sun above you. Let languor enfold you and apply no effort to what you read here. Just accept what is given. All that is being given is the helpful hints you have desired from an older brother who has experienced what you as yet have not.
Helpful hints.
Yes.
Diane, are you reading today?
In that last paragraph, he's asking us to relax back into ourself. You know, to love what is there. In this frame of mind, we can return more specifically to our focus on access. Wherever your chosen point of access lies, imagine now the needle that was discussed as passing through the onion in the course chapter, the intersection. And imagine the point of intersection connecting with your chosen access point. Imagine this now not as a needle, but as the wisdom you seek. Imagine this wisdom not as being stopped by the layers of thinking and feeling that we used the onion to illustrate, but as a point of entry and pass-through. What comes of unity enters you and passes through you to the world. This is the relationship you have with unity. Well in form, a relationship of intersection and pass-through. No longer will what enters you get stopped by layers of defenses. No longer will it meet the roadblock of your thinking, your effort, your attempts to figure out how to do it and what it all means. There is no cause for such effort. Effort is only a layer of defense, a stopgap between what you would receive and what you would give, in which the ego once made its bid to claim ownership. Effort, as translated by the ego, was about turning everything that was given into what you, quote unquote, could work hard to attain and thereby claim as your individual accomplishment. Obviously, union is not about this. While the ego is gone, effort remains. And while it remains, you will not realize full access to what you are given. We are speaking here of letting your form serve union and union serve your form. This service is effortless, for it's the way of creation. Again, this is why effort of learning must cease. Let's return to the image of the healer that was discussed earlier. While many will heal, all attempts to teach or learn how to heal must be thwarted, for if not, the pattern of learning will remain. This is why there have always seemed to be secrets held among the great healers and spiritual guides. They have understood that what they have gained access to cannot be taught. This has not meant that they were not eager to share, only that the means of sharing was not one of teaching or learning.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Where's the spiritual guide who has learned something that doesn't want to share? I mean, what's the meaning of that last sentence in 5.23?
It must be experienced.
The last sentence of 523, did you say, Sam?
Yes, yeah. Actually, starting from the previous one, they have understood that what they have gained access to cannot be taught. Then this has not meant that they were not eager to share, only that the means of sharing was not one of teaching or learning. I was just wondering, does anybody here have something that they think they have learned that they cannot share? I'm not saying that they should share it, but just to know that the sentence is
They can't, you mean that we can't share through teaching?
right.
Well, yeah, all the time. It's like if you have an experience of unity, how do you teach an experience of unity? You can share it, but you can't teach it.
Well, just like happened then, Leon was definitely deeply touched, and in that being touched, it's being shared so beautifully. I was having that same experience as that. It's like, oh, it's that dropping in, and then you become so radiant in that sense. I mean, we could all feel it. You can't analyze that. You can't make sense out of it. It's basically radiates.
Mm.
And it's
The
like
thought that comes, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just wanted to say it's like that. There's one lesson because I step back and let him lead the way. I step back and let the experience lead the way. Not trying to get to understand it, but to more allow myself to feel it and be informed, basically, by unity.
Be informed.
Informed, yeah.
Informed.
Yeah. Being shown, like I step back, it's like here it is. Like if the kingdom is within, if I step back and let the kingdom lead the way, it's a good day.
The thought that keeps coming to my mind is just the word trust. You can't teach trust. You just do it.
My experience this week has been one of stepping into movement, being, and expression. And yeah, I don't know. I had it as an intellectual idea, but it's been pretty cool this week. Like I realize I have to start the movement. I have in the past got quite kind of paralyzed by my thinking, and what I need to do is if I have a moment where I want to move, I have to do it then and there, and then I'm just led from that moment. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I don't even know how that relates to this.
Oh, it relates so perfectly. It's exactly movement without doubt, movement without hesitation. I love it.
Yesterday I went to this art group, and I had in mind they're making stuff out of weeds, and I had in mind to make an egg in a nest. And I started making this egg and it just would not do what I wanted it to do. I just kept on and my hands knew what to do. I'm wondering if my hands are my access point. My hands just knew what to do, and I carried on with this thing, and I discovered that the egg that I was making was the nest. Anyway, but it just showed, it had to show itself to me, and I had to just go with it and let it be there. And it's almost like the making of that little sculpture it helped me to, I don't know what the word is, but with my relationship with my mum, it helped to just sort of complete my process, my grief process with her. But, and I couldn't have planned it. Anyway, that's it. That's it.
It sounds like what Patricia just said, trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And, all the last few years I've been trying to put, spiritual meaning onto my life. And now I'm just going, oh, today I feel moved to go and make some art with this group, and follow that. And it comes out. It's just, yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
We're back to you, Chantal.
Is Patricia not reading?
No.
Oh, okay. Each expression of union must remain as what it is, untaught and unlearned.
Oh.
Each gain from unity will only in this way be seen as the new givens come to replace learning. Remember this as well as you focus on your access to unity. Focus does not mean thinking. Focus does not mean learning. Remember the example of how your breathing becomes unnatural when you think about it, and contrast this with the increase in awareness of breath that comes from the focus of meditation. A focus point is a point of convergence. A focal point is a point of intersection that gives rise to a clear image. The intersection spoken of here is that of pass-through. Although we have spoken of this focal point as an entryway, this does not imply that something that is not of you is entering you, and it does not imply entry without exit. When you think of breathing, you may think of inhaling as taking in air, and of air as something that is not of you. But the air you breathe is of you. You may think of the air you exhale as being more of you, but there is no more or less to the relationship of entry and exit. You are in continual relationship with the air you breathe and in continual relationship with unity. It is a constant exchange. When you are fully aware of this, is when full access is attained. So we will continue our work now in releasing you from those things that would still block your full awareness.
So it's trusting the relationship. It's trusting God.
Trust in love. Mm.
Can somebody explain pass-through?
Is what he says in the last paragraph. He
Which
explains
paragraph?
it. He explains it there. The intersection spoken of here is that of pass through. Although
What paragraph are you talking about? The 5.26?
26.
Okay, so
You've spoken of this focal point as an entryway.
the intersection spoken of here is that of pass-through.
Yes.
So what does that mean to you?
Well,
What?
do you want to try reading that, Sam? Read it and see if it...
The intersection spoken of here is that of pass-through. Although we have spoken of this point, focal point, as an entryway, this does not imply that something that is not of you is entering you. And it does not imply every entry without exit. When you think of breathing, you may think of inhaling as taking in air and of air as something that is not of you. But the air you breathe is of you. You may think of the air you exhale as being more of you, but there is no more of less or less to the relationship of entry and exit. You are in continual relationship with the air you breathe and in continual relationship with unity. It is constant exchange. When you are fully aware of this, when full access is attained, no, I read that wrong. When you are fully aware of this is when full access is attained. So we will continue our work now in releasing you from those things that would still block your full awareness. I get it a little bit, but
for me, Pastor, it's like, let's say you're feeling something and you put a lid on it. Yeah, you put a lid on it, like, oh, I'm feeling this, but I don't want to let that be seen that I'm feeling a certain way. And so for me, pass through is that I step back and I let it pass through me rather than holding it. Actually, it engages this inner movement that
So it has a lot to do with acceptance then.
Yeah, very much with for me, very much with acceptance. But it's an energetic thing that just passes through. It could be go in either way, but it's not held, no longer held. Like the feeling is not held. Feeling is a set free to be itself. Whatever it is, good, bad, ugly, magnificent, doesn't matter. It's more the movement than anything else.
Like electricity through a wire?
Yeah, it just moves basically. And it becomes so beautiful. Like it is like it makes me weep, makes me connected, and it feels like it just passes through. It's gone. Like it's no longer contained or gripped. It becomes alive. It's like an inner aliveness suddenly, all of a sudden. That's my understanding of it.
You know, in Course in Miracles, he talks a lot about removing the blocks from the awareness of love's presence. And it just seems like it's the same thing, just removing the blocks, that we're going to be doing that. But it's also a matter of knowing how to allow.
Didn't Jesus say it is not me, but the Father that's in me that does this? That would be faster. It's the energy, the power of.
Yeah.
Leanne,
I guess it can be said many ways. Again, I think it's so individual, but yeah, it's also it's the inner movement that becomes a movement rather than just sitting there as like a condensed light or something.
Mm.
That's how we become the light of the world.
That's it. If you don't ooze it, you lose it. And oozing it is not an effort. That's the beauty. It's just actually learning. Like I really got that idea of I need do nothing. I need do nothing. How do you do nothing? You're still doing it, but if you really stop, yeah, any effort, then everything begins to move again. It's no longer static. Anything else on this chapter, anyone?
I think that Leanne put something in the chat. Leanne, would you like to read that? What you put in the chat?
No, it was just from chapter 22, the intersection. I thought it might help, but it's basically what Cole said.
Does anybody would like to could share about their particular access of unity? Like, do you recognize it as somewhere? Like it talks about, some people get it from hands and some this way or that way. Anyone has a particular access?
I did have the experience of, like I said yesterday, doing this, art stuff with my hands. But I also notice often in the group, I want to put my hands on my throat, and it seems to allow, I don't know what happens, but it seems to allow a flow through, like maybe there's a block there or something, and it just somehow seems to, yeah. So I'm thinking, I sort of thought to start my heart, but of course it's all connected, but yeah.
The mind wants
but it's also within the art making, and I just let my hands do it, and somehow there's a knowing that comes through me, and my hands are allowed to express that. It's not like my hands do this thing, but they express what's being given me, so it comes through my hands.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, it's a new way for me to understand that art making process, and yeah.
Chantal, you were saying?
Yeah, for me it's the heart. And it's just, you can't really choose it, can you?
I mean, it's just what happens. And that's what I think it's so beautiful how it describes it in the book. That, it can be from anywhere. But yeah, for me, I just notice it in my heart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it comes, doesn't it? Like it comes.
Yeah. It comes.
That's why I call second coming.
I found sometimes, things come out of my mouth and it's such a surprise because it hasn't gone, I haven't, just comes out and I haven't expected it or known what I'm going to say. But it's almost usually like it's fun often. Yeah, it's a fun thing that happens. Yeah. Yeah, it's always a surprise. Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to think it up, whatever. It's too spontaneous. Yeah. And it's different to like just blurting out things without thinking. It's something different.
Oh, when it happens, huh? Like, you go, oh.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's hard to explain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when you go, oh, God. God.
And yeah, usually someone around me responds to it. So it is like a joining. Like it's, I don't know. I can't explain.
It's a good sign. Good. I can't explain it. It's a good sign.
Yeah. But it's always good. It's something good. I feel something good in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just let my body almost decide things. Like I'll say to myself, I'm not sure what to do here. I'll just see what my body does. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that happens too. Yeah.
My son recently took up playing guitar, which is an absolute pleasure. And he's doing very well with it. So we can actually play we play classical music or rock, anything. And what's happening, which is absolutely beautiful, is suddenly we play something at the same time. And it's like we didn't think of that. It just came. And then we both look at each other and we just crack up laughing. It's an absolutely gorgeous thing to experience with your own offspring, Suddenly there is this like a holy instant, and he probably doesn't know it's a holy instant, but because it's so virgin, it's like it's just like a pure discovery of something through different means than spiritual something, and just that expression on his face is that like the face of Christ is right there. It's like there's a smile he cannot make up, It's really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously something's passing through, isn't it?
It's passing through. It's just passing through. It's so quick that we can't control it. It just happens.
Yeah. Whatever happens, you can't grab hold of it. Yeah. Just happens. Yeah. Yeah, it sort of happens like breathing, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can't, it's like automatic or something.
What was very interesting when I got Course of Love, within a week, I was reading something and some experience happened. And what struck me the most is that in the evening of that day when it occurred, my feet begin to vibrate, which I've never felt anything like it. But it's not that like they were vibrating for a moment. They just vibrated like constantly. And I thought like, oh, that's interesting. But next day it was up to my ankles. And the next day it was like up to my calves and just keep going until I completely passed through. That's why I think I think I have a little bit of a experiential understanding of the pass through. Because it was really like going from the bottom up and out. So yeah, like maybe after 5 or 6 days, it was like I actually had a feeling like that's what the Kundalini sort of thing experience is, because it went from the bottom and it just passed through my whole being, like that kind of like almost like a kind of cleanse. I felt like I was standing in a dry well for centuries and suddenly water began to run through. That was the experience. Very enlivening and new.
Does that relate to being a musician or playing a guitar, the vibration of,
Not necessary.
music,
I think
but music is vibration.
yes, music is vibration, and so is the sound. So is the sound, and I've spent a lot of time in my life making all sorts of sound, not necessarily pretty sounds. Any sound that felt like, if we had no mouth and the only way to speak would be making sound. Yeah, like what would be your tone right now? Like how you feel. If you could express it only by making sound, and you'd be surprised how naturally something comes out of you that's closer to unity than anything. And it could be even a sigh, or, oh God, or like whatever, it reverberates the being somewhere on some interesting frequency that allows the access to be more accessible. Yeah, I think it's such an individual thing.
Mm-hmm. I think in pictures.
Yeah.
I think in pictures all the time. And I meditate in pictures that I don't take it any place. I just absorb it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it like a dreaming, like something comes on and you have got no control over it? It just shows itself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it has great meaning, a great depth of meaning.
Yes, yes. I know what you're saying. When I go really quiet, it also just comes on and it begins to almost like a cinema plays a movie. But it's profound. It's not just some kind of imagination. It's different to imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not engaged in it. It happens on its own, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you'd call the imaginal?
Imaginal, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Hey, I've been having these experiences lately quite a lot of slipping into an almost sleep state and then waking myself up laughing because someone's told me a joke. Someone said something really funny to me, and I wake up laughing, which is quite nice because I've always been so serious. Yeah, that's the imaginals from the Book of Mary, isn't it? Where she started saying that word.
Yeah. It's not in A Course of Love?
I don't know. Is it?
Could be. Anyone got a search? Imaginal. Mary Perron used to be, I was on a Facebook page and she used to be actively part of it, and she often talked about that. We actually had discussions about this imaginal because I call it like if thoughts and ideas make images, what do feelings do? And I couldn't come with a word, so I make it imagery. Like a feelings imagery. But then Mary Perron said, well, I call it imaginal. And I thought, okay, that is the word for that.
It's like emotional.
It's an emotional, yeah, it's an emotional seeing. Like, yeah. Very beautiful. Awesome, guys. Maybe we'll just leave it at that so we can start the next day from the start. I think that's really good. What do you guys?
That's a long one.
It's a long one, so we probably better to start next week and we'll just read. Happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, guys. Thank you so much. So lovely. I always look forward to this day and time.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you all.
Yeah.
Nice big group again today.
Always so lovely. Ding. All right, guys. Catch you soon.
Bye, everyone.